now. So the next step that I'm going to do is called backward ducking, okay? So when I'm here, if I have my left leg forward in this instance, I'm going to go to my rear foot, so with my right leg, and I'm going to shift my right leg over as my body weight comes on top of that leg, and my left leg now is going to be a little bit more relaxed as my body weight is shifted over, and I go back to a step position, and that's backward ducking. All right, my next step that I'm going to do is going to be backward step slide. So in this instance, with my left leg forward and my right leg behind, I'm going to push off with my left leg as my right leg steps, and this slides back. Now remember, when I'm on 2 feet, everything I do can be checked by simply shifting back to the Ichiki amount. So if I'm here, backward step slide, I can shift right back to the Ichiki amount. Remember, you want to have a couple of basic things always happening. I should have my back straight, I should have a proper hip tuck, not a hip push forward, and I should feel my body weight relatively in the center of my foot. I don't want to be in my heels, and I don't want to be on the balls of my feet this way. If I'm relaxed, I should feel my body weight sink to the center of my foot. All right, so the next step I'm going to do is going to be inside face. So this is a combination step. So I'm going to, in this instance, I'm going to step to my right and turn back in, okay? That's inside face. So the next one I'm going to do is going to be outside face. It's going to look very similar, but I'm going to explain the difference in a moment. So from here, I'm going to step and then shift again. Now, what's the difference between inside face and outside face? I'm going to use the mukjung here to help explain what it is. So, I always want to be square to my opponent the best that I can be. But there's going to be times where I may not be able to do that given the flow of the forces acting on my body at that moment in time. So, when I do inside face, if I step and turn in, this brings me square to the target. The target is always the body, the center mass of the opponent. So that's inside face. But now, if I step and I'm not square to the opponent, if I'm now outside from facing him, that's what's considered outside face. So if I step and shift, and it brings me square to the opponent, that's inside facing. But if I step and shift, and now I'm not square to the opponent, that's outside facing. So it looks very similar in how you're applying it, but it's a combination step of stepping and shifting. But it's important to know that difference. Inside face brings me square to the target. Outside face means I am not square to the target at that moment in time. But in the flow of the situation, I may be outside face for that moment, but I want to come back and be inside face for the next motion. So the more you practice, the more you understand it. But if you can understand that basic definition of it, that'll help you progress to understand how to potentially apply it in the future. So the next step that I'm going to do is going to be called crab step. All right, so let's just say I'm in a brace position here. And a brace position is if I'm shifted per se, and now I have one foot slightly behind the other. So again, another combination step I'm going to get into, but we're going to talk about crab step for right now. So crab step is when my feet are in a shifted position and I step and bring this leg up. So it's like a step slide, but I'm doing it from a shifted position. So I'm shifted to my left. Now my left leg here steps and my right leg slides up. So that's what we call crab step. Why is it called crab step? Because if you have ever seen how crabs walk, they don't walk forwards, but they actually walk more side to side as they're traveling. So that's why it's called crab step. So let's get into backwards brace and then forward brace. So when I do my backwards brace, I don't know why, but myself included in this, I found that it's easier for people to do backwards brace than forwards brace. Don't know why. Maybe there's something in the way that it's moving, I'm not sure. But so we'll see. You can practice home and you find out for yourself. So when I'm in a Ichikima position, I'm going to take my right leg for this example, and it's going to shift and step back 1/2 of your shoe length. That's it. That's all I'm doing. It's coming from here, and now I brace. All right. Why is it bracing? Because if I have as you're moving around, you're always going to have one leg in front and one leg in back. This backward leg is bracing my center of mass. So when that force comes in and it makes contact, now this acts as a buttress or brace to support my body and ultimately my arms. But there's different ways that you can move. Yeah, I can do a backward step, I can do forward step slide. But depending on the situation, I may need to what we call backwards brace. So that's another combination step of shifting, and moving. All right, but it's not a large step. I don't want to make a mistake and do something like I'm here in backwards brace. Because if you do that, it's going to be harder for the adjustment leg to make up that ground. So when you do a backwards brace, you literally think just 1/2 of your foot length or shoe length. That's the amount that you want a backwards brace. Now when I do forward brace, again I'll use my right leg for example, I'm going forward and shifting with it. But again, it's only that 1/2 foot length that I'm moving forward. I'm not coming in here and doing some wide step like that. This is a smaller adjustment step depending on what I need to do. If I come in here, yeah, I can forward brace with that. But I don't want to come and do a large step shifting at the same time, because when you're moving in real time, that moving and shifting, it makes it harder to control your center of gravity. All these different footwork we're doing is there to help you adjust upon contact. Sometimes, given the situation, there are adjustments that you may need to be making before contact too. But for the most part, the adjustment is coming upon contact, and then you're adjusting to make sure that you have control of your center. Remember, if you have control of your center, you can keep your arms a lot more relaxed. The more relaxed your arms are, the more relaxed everything can be, and the more flow to the target can naturally happen. So that's the difference between forward brace and backwards brace. Now I'm going to touch on the 180-degree turn, but I've done a whole separate video on that you can go look into. So when I'm doing the 180-degree turn, it's important to remember that, again, if the dummy is going to be my target, I want to be square to the dummy. So if I'm going to do a 180-degree turn, I'm not going to just pivot, for example, on my right leg here. Now I'm not facing this dummy. But if I want to face this dummy, I'm taking my left leg in this instance, coming here to each kima essentially, and then my right leg spins around, and that's going to bring me square to the target. So you can just go back and forth, just to practice the simple mechanics of it. If I'm stepping, now I'm going to each kima, and my opposite leg is going to whip around. Now, one thing to be careful when you do this is that if I'm here, and now my right leg is going to be the one that whips around, if I have the proper hip tuck, my back is straight, all right, I feel the balance tension on my thighs. When this comes around here, if I need to, you see how my left leg automatically slid to always bring me back to that ichi-kima distance between my feet? But if I don't have that hip tuck there, it's easy when this whips around to be off balance when you do that. And now, notice I'm not even square to the target that would be in front of me here. Now I'm in a side stance, which I don't want to be in Wing Chun. I always want to do my best to be square to that target in front of me. So I have both hands that always can do what they need to do to protect me and attack that target. So those are some points to remember when you're doing the footwork. So that's all 16 footwork that I covered. And next video, I'm going to go over a couple training things to do within the footwork to be aware of to help your footwork. Honestly, in my opinion, good footwork is what really separates Wing Chun skill to not skill. All right, good luck.